Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of A Bizarre and Unusual World. Today we are going to be covering the Axeman of New Orleans. So as usual for my series here, we're going to cover the who, what, when, where, why, and how of the Axeman of New Orleans. So starting off with the where and when, for this episode we are traveling down to New Orleans in Louisiana within the United States. And this killing spree took place between May 1918 and October 1919. Now for the what. What exactly is this case? Well, as the name would suggest, the Axeman of New Orleans is an American serial killer that killed most of his victims using an axe. Most of the time the weapon belonged to its victims as well. This killer used home invasion to target his victims, often using a chisel to pry open the back door and gain access into their home, before attacking at least one person that lived in the house. As the name suggests, of course, the weapon of choice was an axe, although some reports say a straight razor was also used. Investigators state that robbery was not the motive in these cases because nothing seemed to be taken from the homes or locations of these violent attacks. At least 6 people were murdered during this time from the Axeman, and at least 12 were injured. Some were attacked but got away, however, none of them were able to fully identify who their attacker was. Oftentimes, the Axeman's victims were Italian immigrants or Italian Americans, and this led a lot of people to think that maybe ethnicity had a role to play in how he chose his victims. The first attack, believed to be the work of the Axemen, was a couple, Joseph and Catherine Maggio. They were Italian grocers. They were found murdered on May 23, 1918. Some other attacks from this Axeman: June 27, 1918, Louise Besmer and Harriet Lowe were attacked in their store. He survived the attack, but she would die 2 months later. August 5th, 1918, Mrs. Schneider, a pregnant woman. Now she was attacked, but she did survive and delivered a healthy baby. August 10th, 1918, Joseph Romano. He was an elderly man that was attacked, and unfortunately he died 2 days later. March 10th, 1919, now this one's really sad. They were both attacked, but they survived. Unfortunately, their 2-year-old daughter died from the attack. Very sad. Her parents lived, but she did not make it. August 10th, 1919, Steve Bocca. He was an Italian grocer, and he died at the scene. September 3rd, 1919, Sarah Loonman, a homemaker, and she also died at the scene of the crime. And October 27th, 1919, Mike Pepitone. He was an Italian grocer and died at the hospital. Now, as I said, the reports say that at least 6 people died and at least 12 people were injured, but the numbers kind of fluctuate. Some people think other cases were related to the Axeman killer of New Orleans. Other people think that there was a different killer, so the numbers do fluctuate depending on what reports you believe. Now, one of the most popular aspects about this particular serial killer is a letter that he sent to the press, talking about his love of jazz music, and if you played jazz music, it could save your life. I'll just go ahead and read you the letter that the press printed from him. March 13th, 1919. Esteemed mortal, they have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axemen. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood and brains of he whom I have not below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me, of course. I am a responsible spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigation in the past. In fact, they have been utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but his satanic majesty, Francis Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born then to incur the wrath of the Axemen. I don't think there is any need of such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me, as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as most horrible murderer, which I am. But I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I would slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the angel of death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well, then, so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is some of your people will do not jazz it out on the specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave warmth of my native treacherous, and is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou will publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, I am, and will be the worst spirit that has ever existed, either in the fact or realm of this fantasy. The Axeman. Now, whether it was jazz that saved the people that night or not, no one was murdered that particular Tuesday that the letter suggested. So who is the Axeman serial killer of New Orleans? Well, unfortunately, this case is still unsolved. No one knows who the Axeman was. And a lot of people say he appeared and suddenly disappeared so quickly, it's hard to say what happened to him. So really, for this episode, there isn't a who. One suspect was Frank Doc Murphy. Now, this man owned a jazz business, and of course, after everyone in New Orleans was upping their jazz game to avoid death, his business, of course, flourished. But that's not exactly enough evidence to say that this man was the Axeman. Some experts suggest that the Axeman was a sexual sadist and specifically went after women, and only killed the male victims when they got in the way. This was supported with cases where the women were killed, but the men in the household were left unharmed. Theories go from the mafia connections, a single crazy killer, or even multiple killers stealing the Axeman name to cause panic. People also suggest it could have been a woman that was using the Axeman name to help her cover and to get away if she needed to, because who would believe a woman would do such a thing? So why? Why is this case still so infamous? It's safe to say that the Axeman of New Orleans is one of America's biggest unsolved mysteries, both in mystery in general and the true crime aspect of it. The fact that he disappeared and was never heard from again after October 1919 makes it even stranger. Did he die? Did he move? Was he some sort of supernatural being like his letter suggested? What happened to him? Who was he? We do not know. And how? How is the Axeman remembered today? Well, as I said, still an unsolved mystery, and a lot of people love their unsolved mysteries, so he does get a lot of hype, especially around this time of year. The Axeman has been featured in many different documentaries, as well as one season of American Horror Story, and their tie to the Axeman was that the witches killed him to stop him from murdering people. And he is definitely still in many of the city's folklore and spooky history. So what do you guys think? Had you heard of the Axeman of New Orleans? What do you think happened to him? Do you think that he moved along and maybe there's other axe killings in a different part of the country that relate to this case? Do you think he died? Got some karma coming to him? Was he a supernatural demon that just came those nights to stalk and creep people out? Thank you so much for watching, lovelies, and I will see you in the next episode.